Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome down to Rivals Down South. Welcome down. I am T-Bob Hebert. He is SEC Mike, and this is Rivals Down South on Watch Stadium. As always, youtube.com/Watch Stadium. Yeah, couldn't get involved. They want to today because if you like drama, have drama. And when it comes to quarterbacks, you look at the SEC, and it's a bit like Real Housewives, which I know many of you love, right? You've got your queen bee. You've got your ones who seem to thrive on the drama, your sneaky hot ones, your paper potato ones. And we're going to break it all down for you in a way that no one else can today on Rivals. Mike, what's up, man? How we feeling here on this Football Friday?
Oh, next to Saturday, this is the greatest week of the week for me. We're on the eve of these games. Upsets are in the air, cool, crisp air outside. I'm ready to talk some football.
It was cool and crisp here in Louisiana. Now it's 90 degrees again. But whatever, that's neither here nor there because we're about to turn up the heat this segment. So again, we are examining real QBs of the SEC, and we're going to try to put everybody into archetypes, Mike. And every social group has the leader, right? The queen bee, if you will. And if you look at the SEC this year, every Housewives show has to have a queen bee. Who's the best? Who rules the roost? Who is everyone chasing? Who is everyone else trying to be? And this year, Mike, I mean, the answer is clear. And it's, not to brag, it just happens to be my girl, Jayden Daniels, the complete package, right? Physically beautiful, emotionally mature, with enough touchdowns to make you blush. Just wait until you see this dude run and pass, Mike. Like, it's impossible to watch Jayden Daniels run for 40, then throw a 40-yard bomb in the end zone and not go 6 to midnight. Jayden Daniels, without a doubt, the queen bee of the SEC.
Yeah, and is it fair to say, T-Bob, I love playing this game. If you could pluck one quarterback off a roster, the impact they would have, wins and loss. I mean, at Alabama, Georgia, even Missouri, I would argue, you take those quarterbacks off, I still think they got a good football team. You take Jayden Daniels off of LSU, we're talking hot seat already for Brian Kelly, but they got Brian Kelly. They got Jayden Daniels, so they're in the thick of the SEC West race, and he's in the thick of the Heisman race.
And everyone wants to be Jayden Daniels, but not everyone can be, right? Which brings us to our next category, and that is which quarterbacks of the SEC love drama. They seem to thrive on it. They need it. And I got two here, Mike. Tell me if you agree, okay? They're good looking, but golly, I mean, it's exhausting sometimes. One is Jackson Dart. This man needs to be in a dogfight. Remember, Lane Kiffin tried to replace Jackson Dart, okay? Lane Kiffin started parading around a couple new boos, a little five-star young little thing. Walker Howard suddenly showed up in Oxford. What about the old savvy vet, Spencer Sanders? A little tread on the tires, but somebody who knows their way around football. And yet, what did Jackson Dart do when this competition came in? He thrived. He brought it to new level. Unfortunately for Jackson, Mike, he falls into the old very toxic mantra of treat him like dirt and they stick to you like mud. Like Jackson Dart doesn't even realize it, but he needs to be disrespected to be at his best.
Yeah, and I was going to go right to Lane Kiffin, just like you said, T-Bob. I mean, he's got to be the king of the neg. You go to the bar, the hottest girl there, you don't compliment her. You tell her what's wrong with her. That's what he did to Jackson Dart, and that's, I think, why we're seeing the best football of Jackson Dart's career this fall in Oxford.
And then I'm also going to throw Jalen Milroe in the drama category, but this is a little bit of different sort of drama here. Like you said, you're not necessarily negging Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is just driving you crazy, but then Jalen Milroe does something that just brings it all back in, right? Just you suddenly forget everything. Like Jalen Milroe is at his best when Papa Nick is yelling on the sidelines, team's losing at halftime, they're parading around new quarterbacks, pressure in the pocket. Remember, a 125 NFL quarterback rating when pressured this year. Pressure in the pocket, swirling around him, and it's at that moment when everything you're about to lose your mind that Milroe reminds you why he got married in the first place. I call this the classic Gluck Gluck 9000 player right here. I mean, when Milroe's finished with you, Mike, you light up a cigarette and you almost forget why you were upset in the first place. Almost. But
right. classic redneck marriage here, T-Bob, where you hear him screaming, and then for the next 30 minutes, you hear a different kind of screaming. That's what we got going on in Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban, Jalen Milroe. They make up as well as they fight. You know what?
That and then next up, look, who's on the show simply because they have a ton of money, right? They don't have any great personality traits, but they do drive a Range Rover. Their kids go to the best schools. They always have the best clothes, best accessories, purses, whatever. And they're also kind of that annoying person that loves to act overwhelmed, even though they've got a maid, they've got like full-time cleaning service, all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's Carson Beck, right? Not the most attractive, but comes from money, heir to the smart fortune. Beck has the best of everything. The only problem is Beck does have an ex to contend with in the form of Stetson Bennett. And Stetson got that ring. I don't see no ring on Carson Beck's finger yet. Mike, what do you think? By season's end, will Beck finally have a little shiny diamond on that finger?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Shedeur Sanders when you got through there till you got to Beck. But yeah, I mean, this is a big weekend. Well, next weekend, he's from Jacksonville. That's of course where the world's largest outdoor cocktail party is. And I can't really answer that till we see him against the Gators, T-Bob. But I anticipate he'll have a big game. He has got to step up with Brock Bowers down. He's starting to heat up. So I love the comparison. But I wait and see till after this Florida game. I think then you'll have your answer.
Dennis Urbano in the chat. We're attempting to answer the question of who's the second hottest quarterback in the SEC. Obviously, Jaden Daniels won. Brady Cook coming in third in the poll. Dennis Urbano in the chat say Brady Cook's number in this poll is way too low. I would agree. It's a weird thing. Jalen Milroe is the second highest rated quarterback in the SEC, but I've seen Brady Cook spin. I think he spins it better than him. And Carson Beck has the second best volume numbers in the SEC. But again, right, I don't know anything about Carson Beck. He's never been tested. He's never gone through adversity. You know who has? Brady Cook. Brady Cook was being booed at the beginning of the year and is now being celebrated. And that's why Brady Cook is your sneaky hot quarterback of the SEC, right? Doesn't jump off the page like a Daniels, doesn't have the money of a Beck, doesn't need the drama of a Milroe. But after hanging out a couple times, who do you find yourself thinking about, right? Blue collar, Midwestern, farm girl, not high maintenance, not afraid of rolling her sleeves up and get a little dirty, not enamored with the glitz and glamour. That is Brady Cook. And I agree with you, Dennis. Brady Cook is the second best quarterback in the SEC.
Yeah, and don't forget it. He played injured all last year, T-Bob. He had a significant injury to his shoulder, and you didn't even hear about it until after the season. He's not a complainer. He's going to go out there and give you everything he's got. Now that he's healthy, we're seeing the full potential of Brady Cook in this offense, and he has to be a top 3 quarterback in the SEC up to this point, and that's a big reason why Missouri is already bowl eligible.
Mike, have you ever heard of the paper potato?
No.
A paper potato, you just don't know it yet. They're just someone who just brings nothing to the table, They're just kind of there. And sure, they're on Real Housewives, so maybe they're good looking, but you can't really remember a single thing about them. You can't remember a single thing they bring to the group. That's Graham Mertz. We talked about it earlier this week. You look at Mertz on paper and you're like, yeah, that's good looking, right? I mean, look at those numbers. I mean, it's a good touchdown interception ratio. It's a high completion percentage. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? But then you're like, why can't I remember a single thing that Graham Mertz has done? Why is the Florida offense 11th in the SEC, scored 29 points a game? And it's because Graham Mertz, at the end of the day, is boring. There's just nothing really there beyond a somewhat attractive stat line.
Yeah, well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, because that's boring Billy ball. I mean, I don't care who the opponent is, whether it's the Georgia Bulldogs or if it's Georgia State or if it's Georgia A&M. He wants to win a one-possession, slow-fought game, run the ball, play action. I can't imagine any quarterback in the country wants to go play for Billy Napier. Good luck going to play that boring ball they got. It's the complete opposite of what Steve Spurrier had running there during his great run.
Yeah, I mean, or even Urban Meyer, right? Urban Meyer is at the forefront of the RPO revolution that we now see every single team in the entire country run. I want to give an honorable mention in the boring department to Devin Leary. The only difference is Devin Leary isn't even really surface level good looking. You're like, how did he get on the show in the first place? Second honorable mention to your guy, Joe Milton. The only difference here is, I mean, Joe's got that giant arm. I mean, you've never seen an arm this big. Now, there may not be a lot else there, but we going to put Joe on TV because he's got that arm. That arm's unforgettable.
Right. Nice assets, let's say. Someone you know you can fix. The last 5 coaches couldn't fix him. We can fix him. That's Joe Milton. He's going to be a draft pick. He's not going to earn that, but I think an NFL team's going to fall in love with him because of that right there, the physical traits.
Hey, you can't teach an arm that big, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Mike, who do you find, which quarterbacks do you think are doing their best, but they're stuck in a toxic relationship? For me, that's KJ Jefferson and then Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler was where I was going to go with that. Is playing out of his mind. Nobody's paying attention because what are they, 2-5 on the season? But without him, they're probably 0-7. They're that bad. He's running for his life. He's his best receiver out for the most of the season. So give me Spencer Rattler. I think he's outside of all the quarterbacks in the SEC, his performance going under the radar the most, I think.
And then finally, who, from season 1 to season 2, suddenly we're a cast member down. Where'd he go? Where in the hell is Will Rogers? Will Rogers is on the verge of breaking every single SEC record, and now it doesn't look like he can complete a pass. It is Zach Arnett is when you see a beloved, a family member, someone you deeply love, get in a relationship with a bad guy who's just going to ruin their life. Suddenly you're ostracized from the family. You don't talk to anybody you used to anymore. You disappeared. Nobody can find you. That's Zach Arnett. Somebody save Will Rogers. This is a PSA. Somebody go in there, get him out of there. If you want to run the air raid, rescue Will Rogers, get him out of Zach Arnett's trailer park and bring him home, okay? Because that man deserves better than what he has right now.
He's got more passing yards than Peyton Manning, yet the fans want Mike Wright to play more than him. And all due respect to Mike Wright, I mean, that's a wild statement, but it is what it is. You're right. It's a trailer park offense. That's a perfect description for what they got going on in Starkville right now.
Coming up next, it's the second segment of Friday, which means it's time to do some picks. Unfortunately, I've fallen behind, but I think I can make up some ground this week. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Who you got? We'll pick our winners next on Rivals Down South.